Thank you very much, everybody, for giving up your time today and coming to our demonstration and showing the support. Very grateful for everyone who's made time. Grateful for all the people who put in a little bit extra to help prepare for the today. Those who didn't know who they are. Thank you, Tom, for the kind introduction. It falls on me to try and explain a little bit about what you've seen today, and I'll do my best. I'm kind of torn between the two audiences, so forgive me if sometimes I turn my back on one audience or another. Keep going back and forth like this, but fortunately I think it was a 360 degree martial art, so we get to see a little bit of everything. What I'd like to start with is a little bit of explanation as to how I came to the art and what I think of it. And I'll try to explain some of the points or some of the elements that you have seen today. My pre-Aikido sports background was in rugby. I played rugby union and I was playing university grade in Melbourne. And I was very happy with my rugby, but unfortunately my work was cutting into the training bar, and I was finding it harder and harder to make the training schedule. And I played in the forwards at that time, as I was struggling to work my schedule for the training, I also happened to meet the person who would become my first instructor. His name is Darren Sensei, and it happened that we were working together. And at lunchtime one day, he was telling me a little bit about this martial art that I had never heard of before called Aikido. It sounded interesting. So I went to his dojo, and some people know Joe Sensei. He's about, actually Tom, stand up. Right. You're taller than Joe Sensei. Yeah, he's not a big man by any means. Thank you, Tom. And I went to his dojo in Melbourne, and he showed me some things, and I thought, yeah, it looks interesting, but, and but is always put out there, what about on me? And he said, well, come on then. So I rushed him, I came into a rugby-like tackling type position, and before I knew it, I was on my butt. And I head up, looking at the ground, and looking at the sky. And from that moment, I realised that this was the art that I wanted to do, because if a man of that size and stature can put me down so effortlessly, imagine what I could do is what I thought. Little did I know it would take me a long, long, long time to get anywhere near that kind of level. To really understand Aikido, though, we have to understand his development in relation to this lesson. And I only have, unfortunately, wooden replicas of the Japanese katana. I can't afford the real one. Hopefully in the future, the real one will find its way to me. This weapon is iconic. It says iconic today, it's the 1847. You recognise it instantly for what it is. It stands out amongst all the other swords across Western history, Asian history. It has its own element. We were safe. And the weapon was thought to be on the target. Okay. Then, one of you guys grab this. There are some concepts in many things were written, and there were some concepts that became quite kind of ingrained. And one of them was the idea that you can defeat your partner without killing them. And that idea has kind of stayed with Aikido for a long time. Right? I'll try to explain a little bit more about it, but it sounds simple, but it gets a little bit complicated as things can. Now, we'll have to turn my back to you guys, sorry, for a moment. The idea of this is that if my partner attacks, I can take their sword, but I can only take their sword if they're willing to allow me to take it. Right? And what that means is that, so you come this way so that everybody can see. If my partner senses my skill, right, they won't rush in. Right? They'll come very, very carefully. Right? This will come. Right? And they'll dispatch me they'll dispatch me in a way that limits my ability to take the weapon from them. But if they become a bit complacent, right, or perhaps they're cheerful, I have a chance to evade their attack and take the weapons from them. Come back this way. And that movement then is about placement. Right? So as my partner comes to attack then, I'm moving myself into a position where as the attack comes, right, I'm right here, right, beside my partner. My hands come in between my partners into this point, and now I'm pushing down. Right? Now my partner responds to that by lifting. As they lift, I can take a lift from it. I try to lift, my partner resists. I can't lift against this, but if I push, then lift, I can take the weapon easily. Right? And that is basically what we're doing in all of Aikido, all the different techniques that we practice. Then, with our development, you saw at the very beginning of today's demonstration basic movements and basic techniques. And how they were first the basic movements, then the basic techniques with the basic movements. What's happening first? Can you jump up and maybe actually face this way together? Make mine. Okay, the stance here, and actually can we someone with a sword? Yep. And come one mat forward. Okay, and come on. Alright, the stance that we've adopted, is the same. Right? The difference, the only real difference is that Pavel's top arm is slightly higher, right, than this one which is gripping the handle. Right? Top arm of Pavel is representative of the blade. Right? And if we have this, it becomes a very, very strong position to move from. This is our starting point in Aikido training. Thank you. Then, with our basic movements, we have the basic movements then, for example, we have 6, right? And each one is representative of the sword. So, for example, the movement called Hiriki no Seiuchi, where I raise my arms and come forward. If my partner is here, we're basically practicing what would be called a block. Right? My partner pushes from this position, right? Push up, up. Right? I should be able to hold this very easily. Right? The structure allows me to hold it, and I don't have massive muscles. Please check them out. I'm strong physically in my center, but I'm not like a bodybuilder or anything like that. However, this position gives me some kind of force and power that I can now apply into my partner this way. And then I've learned through practice to keep my stance and move this way. Alternatively, other positions, right, are based on attacks where my partner will push my hand down to try and trap it against my body. Now he has an advantage with his other hand. Right? He can hit or grab my throat, do anything like this. So the other movements that we practice are about from here leading, right, so that we can lead a person away from us. Right? If I allow the hand to get trapped, right, I get stuck immediately. And this is now leading away from me. So I've got space to move. Once I have space, I can move any way I want to. It just depends on how he comes with me. Each of those movements then is key to training our body and how we move and how we learn our techniques. Then you get Adrian and Andy. You guys jump up and leave the tongue up. Come on out. Okay, face each other. Actually, come this way. Right, so across this way. Okay, what's your journey? Ready? Come on. One of our base techniques is a technique called Shionage. Takemuchi Shionage. Ichi, Andy, stay. Step in. Right, and let's go through the technique. So he strikes, right, he moves through this way, and all of this is based, again, on sword. Right, can we grab the pen again? You guys do it left side. Right. The important element here, just pause for a second, Andy. Right. The important element here is the turn. right? Our hands are almost in identical positions, right? I've obviously got to control the weapon, but as we go from here, now go, right? It's the same move as cutting with the sword, right? And pinch. Okay, and back. There you go. Now, just do the same thing again. Okay. Itch, knee, right? So to here. And all of that is based on the sword. Right? Now, when you do it a little bit slowly, right? As Adrian turns to apply his technique, if I don't mirror the same, if I was, for example, to come out like this, right? The sword is totally ineffective, right? He goes, can you go back? Face this way, right? And Adrian's the same now. Lead your arm out. So let's pull it out this way. Right? It doesn't work very well. It needs to travel in the same shape and form as the sword. And down. Right? There. Okay, thank you. Okay. So all of what we're practicing is based around that concept with the weapons. We move on to, we start with basic movements and of course learning to fall, like the kids demonstrated. And then we have intermediate techniques and then on to somewhat advanced. Somewhere in the middle there, actually across all of that, is raised levels of self-defense. Now, the training that we do is fairly, what I would say, custom-based, which means that everything is step by step by step. But within that, there are elements of self-defense. And I'll explain a couple of those, and then I'll explain a little bit more from there. We get, Matt, and who else is getting up? Harry. Okay. Just leave that for now. Yep. Some of the basic elements, right? You face each other like this. Some of the basic elements are extremely basic, right? But we'll make the point on them anyway. So the first thing that people learn is they're facing each other and they have a distance between them. Okay, red. Come on. The distance that they have now, the starting point is 6 feet. And we stress this every class we do. We're learning to keep distance. Right? If Matt wants to advance on Harry, so advance Matt, 1, 2, or Matt's big, he can do it in 2. Most people will take 3 steps before they get there. Right? But it just gives us time. Right? While they're standing in this position, their eyes are locked on each other. So the first thing that they've learned is to position themselves. The second thing that they've learned is eye contact. Right? Then the third thing, right, is ki. So if Harry advances on match, ki match, right, there, right, and that's enough. That the ki in itself is enough. Right? Those 3 elements, right, those 3 elements we practice repeatedly every day. Plus, of course, the techniques that go with them. Okay, thanks guys. Alright, let's, okay. Can you jump up?